A suspect has been found and arrested for some of the bomb threats against Jewish community centers. Now, of course, I previously reported that there have been a lot of anti-Semitic attacks, bomb threats, vandalism of Jewish cemeteries, places like Missouri, Pennsylvania, and most recently in upstate New York. Now, in total, there have been about 100 different incidents across dozens of states. And this is according to the Jewish Community Center Association of North America. They go through, they track, okay, this is how many threats that we get. Isn't that amazing, though? I mean, the fact that we are still getting, like, Jewish community centers are still being threatened here in America or anywhere else. It's crazy. But there is this level of anti-Semitism that's going around. Now, last month, for example, a bomb threat was called into the Anti-Defamation League's headquarters in New York. Now, look, I support the mission of the Anti-Defamation League. I did call them out when they were smearing Keith Ellison as being anti-Semitic. No, the guy's not anti-Semitic. Yes, he said some controversial things. Then he took it back. He's like, yeah, you know what? I was young, and I was misinformed, and I don't agree with that anymore. So I clashed with the Anti-Defamation League on that one. But still, people are threatening them with bomb threats? It's one thing to disagree with something that they say. It's a completely other thing to threaten them or any Jewish community centers. So there's your context, right? Now, going on to today, the Washington Post has reported that the FBI has arrested a man, Juan Thompson, a 31-year-old St. Louis resident, on a Friday morning. So this morning it happened as the day that we're filming. Now, Thompson, they write, is a disgraced, I added that, journalist who was fired from The Intercept for fabricating quotes and misleading colleagues in order to cover his tracks. So he worked at The Intercept, which is the news publication that, I tend to trust. Okay, I use The Intercept as a source, so I've talked about their stuff, I've talked about their stories. I have great respect for Glenn Greenwald and a lot of the people there, Lee Fong, of course. So seeing this, holy shit. Somebody who worked there. Now, he worked there, he fabricated quotes. He was actually fired last year. Okay, gone. As soon as they found out that he was doing this, that he was making up quotes, and one of the most famous ones was in a story that that Thompson wrote about Dylan Roof, of course, Christian domestic terrorist, the white right-wing terrorist that shot 9 people at a historically black church, the Emmanuel Church. Okay, so in this article, he basically had some quotes from somebody named Scott Roof, which is the supposed cousin of Dylan Roof, saying something like, "Oh yeah, you know what? It was a black guy that came and stole the girlfriend, and that's why Dylan Roof did it." Again, that's one of those misattributed quotes. That didn't actually happen. There is no such person as Scott Roof. And the Intercept followed up on that and like, hey man, that guy doesn't exist. What are you doing? Well, you were coming up with terrible, that untrue quotes. No, we got to get you out of here. You're fired. You're fired. You're fired. Get out. Get out. Get out. And he later on tried to work at Raw Story. And when they found out that he had lied to the Intercept and that he did what he did, they found out his past, they're like, you get out of here, man. We don't have any room for you. You're going to make up things. You're going to make up fake news. You're gone. So there you go. Now, again, in an editor's note last year, the Intercept said Thompson had engaged in a pattern of deception and wrote that he created fake email accounts to impersonate other people, to impersonate sources. So in effect, Thompson was creating fake news. Fake news. So, and when they found out, obviously fired. Rightly so. Get him out of here. Get him out of here. Get him out of here. And see, that's kind of the difference between right-leaning publications and left-leaning publications. If you get caught creating fake news as a progressive or somebody who's actually interested in facts and truth, you get fired. Now, on the right, if you get caught creating fake news, well, you might end up becoming White House chief strategist. or being a celebrated news source on the right, like Drudge, Breitbart, etc. Now, Charlotte Greenslade, The Intercept's managing editor, said in a statement on Friday about this. She says that, quote, we were horrified to learn that this morning that Juan Thompson, a former employee of The Intercept, has been arrested in connection with bomb threats against the ADL and multiple Jewish community centers, in addition to cyber stalking. She says these actions are heinous and should be fully investigated and prosecuted. And there's no question here. Yeah, if he actually did this, throw the book at him. Nobody is going to fight against that. Yeah, of course. The guy lied, made up sources, and then he called in bomb threats. Book meet face. Okay? Throw the book at him. Throw the library at him on this one, because that's unacceptable. Unacceptable. Now, anti-Semitism in any form, for any reason, is unacceptable. Doesn't matter who's doing it. Okay? Now, Greenslade said Thompson worked there from November of 2014 until he was fired in January 2016. That's when they found it. Now, here's where things get fascinating. See, now, of course, there are some Trump supporters. You go up on Twitter, right? There are Trump supporters that are like, see, Donald Trump was 100% right. The Democratic Party is working together to try to make Trump look bad on this specific issue. That's a little bit of a stretch. Not necessarily incorrect, but to involve the Democratic Party in this? No. Stretch. The Post explains, Thompson was charged with cyberstalking for allegedly communicating at least 8 threats to these Jewish community centers as part of a sustained campaign of harassment targeting a specific woman. Now, wait a minute here. So this whole thing is over a woman? It's over a woman. Come on. The woman said that, the woman in Thompson, the Post says, has been in a romantic relationship, and after their relationship ended, he began sending defamatory emails and faxes to her workplace, making false reports of criminal activity by her, and making threats to the Jewish centers in her name. Authorities also said that some of his threats were made in his own name, to try and show that the woman was trying to frame him. Oh, see, here's a brilliant idea. I'm going to call it a bomb threat into the Jewish center. Again, that's not a brilliant idea. That's a terrible idea. That's a ridiculous idea. But again, this is his warped mind. This is how it's going to work. I call them in and I do it in her name. But then I do it in my own name. And then I can say, I've been framed, everybody. I'm the victim here. No, the victim of the people that you scared the shit out of at those centers, making them think that they could literally die from a bombing. No, it's a sick individual. It's a sick individual, man. No. But, okay, so again, disgusting human being, right? So is this political? No. I'd argue that in the context of knowing why this person did it, I'm not even sure it's anti-Semitic. This is a douchebag who has been dumped and getting revenge on an ex. That's what this boils down to. It's complete insanity. The criminal complaint filed in federal court points to a Twitter page where he rails on his ex-girlfriend as a nasty, racist white girl. In one tweet, Thompson accused a woman of harassing and threatening him before saying she had framed him for a bomb threat to a Jewish community center. Now, this is one fucked up dude, but it gets worse. Thompson's page also expresses disdain for President Trump and white people generally. Now, look, you all know me. I ain't no fan of Trump. But fuck you, buddy. You're going to hate on white people? Fuck you. Look, just because you had a bad experience with a white girl doesn't mean that all white people are shit. And look, just because a black guy does something shitty does not mean that all black people are shit. No, people are people. And people do shitty things. People are people. You understand that? So if you want to hate white people for what one white person does, fuck you. If you want to hate black people Are all black people for what one black person does? Fuck you. If you want to hate all Mexicans for what one Mexican does, fuck you. Okay? People are people. Fuck you. Now, here's where I issue a little apology to Mr. Trump. Now, Trump in his joint address speech to Congress said that these threats against Jewish centers were absolutely reprehensible. Yes, they are. He came out. He's denounced them. He's denounced them twice. Got to give him some credit for that. Now, he also said that sometimes it's a reverse. Now, I remember doing a segment where I said that's untrue. Well, it turns out I was wrong. Now, he said last month that some bigoted sentiments were expressed by opponents, and he said, quote, "It won't be my people, but it will be done to make his supporters look bad." And in this case, that seems to be partly true. Now, this situation explicitly wasn't, as I explained, this was a revenge tactic, okay? Was it meant to make Trump look bad? Not necessarily. This was made to make his ex-girlfriend look bad. Now, it just happens to be a convenient cover that you could blame some of the supporters of Donald Trump. So what we know here is Thompson called in these bomb threats to frame his ex-girlfriend. Not necessarily political in nature. Again, if this is a revenge thing, by framing somebody for doing one of the worst, most heinous things that you can do. Call in bomb threats against someone else, especially a minority that's has a history of having attacks specifically against them for who they are and what they believe. Now, what does make it political is that he was a journalist and a supporter of the Democratic Party. Okay, those are facts. So look, what he does is that he does this. He wants her to get the blame, or if the blame somehow goes to Trump or white people in general, he wins. He gets his revenge. It's absolutely sickening. This guy's a piece of shit and a disgusting person. And now just because this guy got arrested for doing these threats, there still doesn't mean that there hasn't been a rise of anti-Semitism from the far right. For example, they still have not found who vandalized the headstones in Missouri or New York. The complaint against him does not mention any of the cemetery vandalism, nor does it tie him to it. So somebody out there is still knocking over these headstones. Somebody out there is still actually making these attacks. So we need to find out who they are. There are other people out there still doing anti-Semitic attacks. In fact, they're calling this a copycat attack, which means he saw these people doing anti-Semitic attacks and was like, hey, you know what? I can use this as my revenge plot. And then I get away with it because look at me. I'm a black Democrat. Who's going to blame me? But it turns out, of course, facts matter. And this time, great investigation into finding who this is. Because I don't want people like out there doing this kind of shit. It's heinous. It's disgusting. Now, this also doesn't mean, Trump supporters, that I'm wrong in saying that there isn't a tiny piece of that base that does hold some of these anti-Semitic views. And you have people like Richard Spencer and David Duke. Okay? These are people, yes, Trump has denounced these people. But that doesn't mean they don't like some of his policies. Policies like the temporary Muslim ban. Or policies like building a wall between us and Mexico. So, there's that. And the fact that it's there, I mean, you can point to it. You can point to these people. And yes, there are people that overgeneralize and try to paint the entirety of Trump supporters as anti-Semites. That's not true. The majority of Trump supporters, and I know I'm going to get flack from the left from doing this, for saying this, but most of them aren't racist people. Most of them are not anti-Semitic people. You go out and talk to regular people. I got family that's Trump supporters. There's not a racist bone in their body. Yes, they say things that annoy me, and about, issues like immigration. But what it comes down to is more of a place of, I'm afraid. I'm afraid because I keep getting told that other people are coming to hurt me and my family. I don't want that to happen. In a weird place, it's more of, I want to protect my family. And again, this comes from talking to certain people about certain issues. Is it overt racism? No. What it is, I mean, these people aren't putting on Klan hoods. What they are is that they're using stereotypes that they are fed. And there is this implicit bias that people have towards other races. And I've talked about that before. But what I'm trying to say is that, yes, there is, though the majority of Trump supporters are not racist, they're not anti-Semitic, they're not sexist, etc., there is that small group within them that do those types of things. So it is easy or easier to point to that and say, look at all those Trump supporters. They're all racist. Not true. Not true. Especially people on the Democratic, the establishment media. They certainly try to point at that so they can avoid talking about progressive issues. Oh, look at the racists over there. See, compared to them, we're fine. Even though we support neoliberal policies that are crushing your jobs. No problem here. Now, this specific instance, the people that were blaming Trump, including myself, we were wrong about these specific attacks. And when you know what you do when you're wrong? You own up to it. You own up to it. Look, you got to remember here that not everything is what it appears to be. That's why we need investigations. That's why we need facts. That's why we always have to make sure to take stories with a grain of salt and try to do the research and try to do the best you can at determining the facts. Because at the end of the day, those are what matter the most. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.